Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It feels so weird saying that just because I have not filmed a video in months, and it's because I have been going through a very difficult time in my life. And if you've clicked on this video, you can tell by the title, I'm going to be talking about pet grief. So if you are someone who's already subscribed to my channel, thank you so much for being patient with me and still sticking around. Life happens, and I'm the type of person when something happens to me in my life, I can't keep going. I'm not the type of person where even though life keeps going, my life kind of takes a pause and I have to take a break from certain things. And losing my rabbit, my bunny, was something that was very traumatic and tragic for me, to the point where my life did stop and I stopped filming. And it's just something, it's just how I deal. Everyone deals differently. So if you've stumbled upon this video because you have lost a pet, my heart goes out to you. It is one of the most devastating things to go through, and I feel you. And I just want to talk from the heart about more, not reliving what happened to my bunny, but talking about what I've been doing to get through pet grief, also talking about mental health, and also talking about other things that have been going on in my family that have just not put me in the mood to film. And I'm not the type of person who can just put on a fake face and sit in front of a camera and talk about lashes and makeup when deep down inside, my heart is breaking. So, if you don't already know, I have pet rabbits, and I adopted a bonded pair of bunnies, Sansa and Arya, in, I want to say it was August of 2020 during the height of the pandemic. And I did so much research before adopting my bunnies. I watched countless videos on YouTube, especially Lennon the bunny with Lorelai. She taught me so much about how to properly care for rabbits and to free roam. And when I adopted Sansa and Arya, I was told that Sansa had upper respiratory issues. And it was something that when I adopted her, I didn't really understand until I adopted her. And I saw that, she gets sick quite often. And when I had her in my life, she was always sneezing. I mean, she always had like a runny nose. She always had something going on with her. So it was just a lot of trips to the vet. She was only about 8 months old when I adopted her. When she passed away, she was only like a year and a half. So I did not have a lot of time with her, but she was chronically ill. She was a chronically ill bunny. So I developed a very special bond with her just because I was treating her so much. Whether it was medication for her respiratory issues, for her runny nose, for her sneezes. I mean, during the time I had her, she developed pink eye, which in bunnies, it's called conjunctivitis. She had developed head tilt, which was from an ear infection. She was just always getting sick with something. It's because she was just a chronically sick rabbit. It was very expensive to keep her alive. But one thing when you adopt a bunny is you have to become aware of how expensive it could be. And I was very well aware of how expensive a bunny could be. I did not know how expensive she would be because she was chronically sick, but I was more than happy to pay what I needed to pay in order to keep her alive. And so we had countless visits to the vet. And even to one point where one vet just did not know what the heck was wrong with her, why she kept sneezing, why, she would finish certain medications and go back to her health issues and whatever. So that's just to give you a background of Sansa. Sansa is the one who unfortunately passed away. If you follow me on Instagram, my handle is Legal Beauty. You will see that I posted a tribute to her a month after she passed, because I just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that my bunny passed away after I had gotten so close to her and would spend so much time, just treating her. And there was even one point when she had head tilt, which for bunnies is very scary because it's basically their head tilts to the side because they have an ear infection, and she didn't want to eat. So I was syringe feeding her water, syringe feeding her food. And those are things you do when you are a bunny owner. I want to say owning a bunny, being a bunny mom is so much different than being a different type of fur baby mom. And it's because bunnies truly rely on their owners for survival. They cannot fend for themselves. They are prey animals. They get spooked. They're scared by like the smallest things. And so I've just developed such a deep bond with my bunnies, and it's something that I did not think I was capable of. I just kind of want to talk about what Sansa taught me and then go into how I've been dealing with grief. And to be honest with you, one of my biggest fears is having to live with grief. And I had told my parents this like prior to her passing, and all of a sudden it came true. And living with grief scares me because I feel like your heart is never full again. And you have to keep waking up and carrying on as if it is, as if everything is okay when you're not okay. And I've just learned in this process that it is okay to not be okay. But anyways, I'll get into more of that in a second. Sorry if this video is all over the place. I have not rehearsed this video. I haven't wrote down what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to kind of like freestyle and just talk from my heart about what I've been experiencing and how I've been getting through it. I don't want to cry in this video because it's still very hard to talk about her. But I just want to be able to help someone else who's maybe going through something. Don't cry, you're gonna be okay. Whew. So I wear makeup so I don't mess it up. Okay, so like I was saying, Sansa was a chronically sick bunny. So she taught me an unconditional love that I can't even describe. Like, I had lost so much sleep over Sansa because she was sick. And there was just moments where I was like, I can't lose her. Like, she's my everything. I consider my rabbits my kids. Like, if you know me out, like my family who knows me personally, friends who know me personally know that my rabbits are my kids. I don't have actual kids, but my rabbits are my kids. But Sansa taught me an unconditional love in the sense that, I did not know that I could grow a love for something so small. So to give you an idea, Sansa was only 0.85 ounces, pounds, whatever it is. She wasn't even 1 pound. She was the smallest, most beautiful gray rabbit with the most beautiful eyes, the most beautiful, like grayish, brown, blue eyes. It depends on when the sun was hitting them. She was the nicest bunny when she wanted to be. She was a little bit sassy, but she was the type of bunny who got along with any other bunny. And if you know anything about bunnies, bunnies are very territorial. If they see a bunny that is new to their area or to their environment, they kind of want to attack because they're so territorial. But Sansa was so like nonchalant and aloof and just didn't care. She was the chillest rabbit ever. She would sit with you, lay with you, want to eat treats with you. She was a diva. I mean, I spoiled her so much, and she really taught me that bunnies can have such big personalities in such small form. She also taught me so much about illnesses with rabbits that I had no idea even existed. And she kind of taught me what it feels like to almost be a vet. Like, I'm not a vet in any way, shape, or form, but to have to care for my bunny in the way that I had to with her, it really taught me how serious certain medical conditions can be with them. Rabbits can literally pass away in 24 hours or at a moment's notice, and you would have no idea. And it's because they are such strong animals that you won't know something is wrong with them unless they're showing it, which is kind of rare, or something really bad happens. And the week leading up to Sansa passing away, I did not think that she was per se dying or whatever it was, because when she passed away, it happened so sudden and tragic, and I don't want to relive that morning, that day, because it's something when I wake up and close my eyes, I relive sometimes of what I could have done differently, what could have happened. But at the end of the day, there was nothing I could have done differently because we put thousands of dollars into this bunny to keep her alive, with how many vet visits and what happened towards the end. But leading up to her passing, I did not see signs of what was going on. I was treating her for other issues at the time, and she was being a little rude and sassy with me, but I thought that was just because she was upset with how I was treating her. But anyway, she definitely taught me so much about rabbit issues and illnesses and things that can happen to them and how quick you have to take care of them. And I did everything in my power to keep her alive. I know that I gave her the best life possible. I don't think that if another owner adopted her, they would have gone to the lengths and extent of what I did to keep her alive, which was treat her and feed her what she needed to be fed and monitor her and be by her side during the times when she was super ill, and just to really just care for her and be her survival in a sense. So losing her taught me and forced me to have to live with grief. That day that she passed away, I was an absolute wreck, like an absolute wreck. My world fell apart on me. It was something that I was not expecting at all. I didn't even get to say goodbye. I have this last image in my head of her, which was, it's a very sad image I don't want to get into. And I try to replace those images with the happy times that I did have with her. But that day, that night, coming home from the vet, I took her in her carrier. I came back with her not in her carrier. That was very traumatizing. And if you're someone who's living with pet grief and you have had to experience that, I'm so sorry. I know what that feels like to walk into your home. Your pet is not in their carrier. They're not going to go run to their spot. They're not there. It's an empty presence. So we came home. Her sister was obviously still there. Her sister had no idea what happened. Her sister is Aria. Aria didn't get to say goodbye, and I guess there is a certain way bunnies can say goodbye, but everything with Sansa happened so fast, I couldn't even think, my hubby couldn't even think of how can we get Aria to say goodbye, because we didn't even know. It was the first time we're saying goodbye to an animal that we loved and adored so, so much. She was our life. She was my everything. I mean, I just dedicated so much of my time to her and loved her, and my family loves her. She was like everyone's favorite bunny. I kid you not, because she was such a sweetheart. She was so chill. She was so small. She was just the best thing to be around ever. She wasn't like one of those bunnies who's super scared and paranoid and doesn't like you and wants to bite you. None of that. She was super chill. But anyways, so that night was so difficult. I remember just crying and crying and crying, and the tears would not stop. So if you are someone who just lost your bunny, a pet, let it out, cry. Don't hold it in. Holding it in is worse for your mental health. And I had to learn that. I remember talking to my dad right after she passed away, and he was like, Mija, please don't do anything to yourself. And that is how much I love my rabbits. And he knows that's how much I love my rabbits. And I was like, I would never do that. I have a lot to live for. I was not in that state, but I was in a very bad mental state because I just lost one of the little loves of my life. The next day, my hubby and I had to go to an event, and it was very difficult because mentally, of course, I didn't want to be anywhere, but being outside of my house was good for my mental health because it forced me to have to start to feel what it feels like to live with grief, if that makes sense. I think it was, for some people, it might be too soon to go out the house, but being not forced, but just being outside, it was difficult. I held back tears all day. But it kind of taught me how to live and deal with it in a way. That night, though, I was a wreck. I talked to my mom on the phone and broke down. It was like, I feel like I failed her. I felt this overwhelming guilt, this overwhelming sense of what the F just happened. How is this real? I'm waking up, and it's hard because in those days when you wake up and you have a routine with your pet, I was used to feeding for 2 rabbits downstairs. Now I'm feeding for 1 rabbit because it's just Aria. I was used to waking up and seeing her asleep in her litter box and her little bunny contraptions that I had for her. And she's not there. So every day waking up was very difficult. I would often break down in my kitchen, and what I would try to do is not try to cry in front of Aria, because bunnies can sense when their owners feel sorrow. They know when their owners are upset. And the last thing I wanted was for Aria to see that I was grieving. She still doesn't know where the heck her sister is. She knows she was here one moment and now she's not here. And bunnies who are bonded, who lose their sister or partner, can pass away from a broken heart and from being sad. And that's the last thing I wanted for Aria. It's like, I already have one bunny that I lost way too soon. I can't have another one go down. So I would try to hide when I would cry, and Aria would follow me around. She sits on the couch with me sometimes, and there would be times I would just start breaking down on the couch and have to shield my face from her. What I'm trying to get at is, if you wake up and you cry throughout the day and you cry, you go to bed and you cry and you break down, it's okay. It's okay to let it out. It's okay to cry. And there were moments that first week where I would just cry and cry. And it's like, okay, is it ever going to stop? Am I ever going to stop feeling this way? I remember I would have anxiety attacks and panic attacks where my chest would cave in and it would just feel super tight. I had no appetite. I was eating maybe once or twice a day. Really, really bad. But I had to take matters into my own hands to help me get through this grief. And to some people, it may be just a pet, right? Just a rabbit. It's nothing compared to losing a human. But what I think people don't understand is, especially when it's a bunny, it's not just a pet. Their survival is you. You take on this crazy responsibility to make sure they're alive. And if you really do truly care about your rabbit, you will go to the most extreme measures to make sure that they are okay. And I'm that type of person where I take on a responsibility for something, I'm going to fulfill it. That's just who I am. So that first week was one of the worst weeks of my freaking life because I had to wake up and carry on and work and care for my other rabbits and still be a wife and still be everything that I needed to be. And while I wanted the world to just stop because my world stopped, it didn't. But the only thing that I could control was my care for my other rabbits. And I could not just stop caring for them. There was just days, honestly, though, where I didn't want to clean litter boxes. I didn't want to do any of that because everything was a reminder of her. But I had to because I have to keep going for them, right? One of the hardest things is I work from home. And when I adopted my rabbits, they've been with me ever since. So Sansa's presence is everywhere in my home because at one time I had her and her sister free roaming living upstairs. I switched their environment up. I put them downstairs. They free roamed downstairs. So it was overwhelming in the sense that everywhere I turned and looked in my house was a reminder of her because she loved my couch. She was upstairs. She was downstairs. You know, she'd be running around upstairs and I'd be up here. And when I'm downstairs, she would be down there. And, you know, I would walk past her room and she would just look at me with like her little beady eyes and just stare at me. And it's just like everything was an overwhelming reminder with her to the point where I needed to get out of my house. And I live in a really beautiful, peaceful neighborhood where I am blessed with the ability to go outside of my house and walk around my block peacefully without any issues. So one of my coping mechanisms with losing her that week, the weeks to follow, the months to follow, is by going on mental health walks. And I know that you all have probably seen the reel where you see someone like walking all dumb and they're like going on a stupid walk for my stupid mental health. I never understood what that meant until I lost Sansa. And going on these walks literally helped that tightness in my chest get relieved. It did not take away the heartache, and it won't. Whatever you do is probably not going to take away the heartache. But what I recommend, because what I did was in those moments where being in my home was unbearable, being in those moments where your thoughts are overtaking you to the point where it's unbearable and you just feel like you want to go back in time and redo things. And even though you can't, get outside your house, go for a walk. I don't recommend going for a drive because at least when I was grieving, everything felt like I was in a cloud. It felt weird. It felt like I was living, but I wasn't alive. That I was just here, present in the moment, but I wasn't really living, if that makes sense. I remember going to Target and everything just felt like a blur, and I'm watching people walk past me and be happy and be normal. And deep down inside, I'm pissed off, I'm angry, I'm confused. I don't know why this happened. I felt like a terrible owner. I was upset that I didn't get to say goodbye. I just was upset altogether. So I don't recommend going for drives. I don't recommend doing things where your attention isn't there, that you could put others at risk of getting hurt. So going for my mental health walks really, really helped me. Talking about it with my family was key as well. Obviously, they would check in with me every day and see how I was doing and offer things and things like that, because they were very close with Sansa as well. So they knew how hard it was on me. And so talking out your feelings, saying, hey, like I'm having a good day or I'm having a bad day, or even crying crying on the phone with your family or friends is 100% okay, because if you hold it in, you're just damaging yourself to the point where you're going to hold it in and you're going to blow up. So that first week was just god awful for me. And if you're going through it, it's probably going to be god awful for you, because you're forced to adjust with now this space that they occupied being empty. And you're changing your routines that you've had for 1 or 2 years or however long it's been to something new, because they are not there. And it is so damaging on your heart and on your soul, but you have to find a reason to keep going. And my reason to keep going was, my family, my hubby, and my other rabbits that I have to take care of. I couldn't just let myself fall apart. I did take, obviously, a break from YouTube, because this was the last of my priorities while I'm trying to get my mind right, is talking about lashes when I just lost my bunny. I watched my bunny go, and I still didn't get to say goodbye. The second week, third week, month, it felt like, not that things get better, but you learn to continue to adjust without them being there. I still have my moments though where I cry. Picking up her ashes, we decided to go that route. That second week, or the first week, her ashes were available, and I was honestly dreading that, because picking up her ashes meant that it was real, right? Like, she truly wasn't coming home. But then when that vet called me and they're like, Sansa's ashes are here, I dropped everything I was doing, went and got her, and just wanted her to be home. I wanted her to come back home, because having her ashes was a sense of having her home. And what I also did to keep her alive and make it feel like she's still here is I created a little memorial for her here in my home. It's in the living room. My sister is such an amazing bunny auntie. She buys my bunnies so much stuff. It's the cutest thing ever. I'm so grateful for her. So Raquel, my sister, had bought for Christmas every bunny a sleigh, like a wooden sleigh, because bunnies could chew on wood. It's safe for them. So she had gotten like a sleigh that says Sansa on it, and Sansa loved sitting on her sleigh. Like, it was the cutest thing ever. So what I did was, in her little memorial site, I have the sleigh. She loved blankets. She loved all things cozy. I have her blanket in there, and I put the box of her ashes on top, so as if she's in her sleigh, with candles that say "Some Bunny Loves You." I also have a jar of her fur. When you lose a pet, bunny, rabbit, whatever it may be, it's really hard in the moment to think of what's next, and it's really hard to let go. But I had saw on like a Reels Instagram, an owner who had lost their rabbit. And one of the things they did was they kept some of the fur. So when we were saying our goodbyes to Sansa, I asked for scissors, and if I could have, use it to cut some of her fur. So I have a jar of her fur. I gave a jar of her fur to my mom. And I'm so thankful that even though my mind was just so congested with overwhelming grief in that moment, I was able to come to my senses, at least for a few seconds or minutes, and cut some of her fur, put it in a jar, and save it. And that way I have a piece of her. I don't open that jar because I can't do that. It would probably break me. But putting her fur in the jar and having it on display for me to walk by. I mean, I still say hi to her little ashes. I still say good morning or good night to her. I blow her kisses. I've had a couple of times where I've just broken down in front of her little area that I have for her. But if you are going through it, and you want to keep the memory alive of your animal, I would say do that. It's a way that they just don't disappear from your home. And I just didn't want it to feel like that. I wanted to feel like I will always have her with me. And I do. I have her ashes. I have her fur. And she's in my heart. So that's another way I dealt with coping with it. So, to kind of sum up like how I've dealt with my grief is I've just let out my emotions. If I cry, I cry. And there was moments of the day where I'd be okay, and there's moments where I'm not. There was plenty of nights where right before I go to bed, I would have an absolute mental breakdown, and I would just cry and cry and cry and let it out, go to sleep. I would go on my mental health walks, talk to my family, talk it out. And Another thing is I am religious, so I went back to church, and I think that is one of the main things that has saved my soul in every single way possible. It kind of gave me the strength and the clearance that I needed in order to move forward with my life. Because at the end of the day, my bunnies have become essentially emotional support. Working from home, living in a pandemic can be so mentally damaging because you're so isolated. And I'm so blessed I get to work from home, but it can mess with your mind. And my bunnies are just something that I look forward to when I'm alone. In moments when I'm alone and I have them here, it gives me something to do. It gives me a responsibility. They fill my heart up with so much joy. And to know that I was able to help take in some bunnies that had a horrible life before they came into my home is something that makes my heart feel so much better, is that I'm able to provide for them and give them something that they've never had. I'm able to give them happiness. I'm able to give them a home of security. And when you become a bunny owner, you fully become aware of that. You know how sensitive bunnies are. And just taking them in has filled my heart with so much joy. And I don't see myself ever, ever, ever living without a bunny, a rabbit, just because they are such special animals. You will literally have a bond with them that you did not think that you could have. So, having them here, they are my emotional support. Sorry, my sinuses are still as bad as they were when I was filming videos. So my coping mechanisms were talking it out, let out your crying, go for mental health walks. And what I would do is my hubby and our work schedules kind of conflict. So there's a lot of times throughout the day where he's not home and I may be alone. And so what I do in those times where I'm alone and I was really going through the grief is I would find things around my house to do. I would want to overwhelm myself with tasks rather than overwhelm myself with grief. And whether that is redoing your drawers, reorganizing your clothes, doing laundry, redecorating something, I don't know, rearranging your shoes, rearranging your makeup, doing something that just takes your mind off of it, that occupies your mind, helps you. Now, mind you, it won't work 100% of the time, because once I was done doing my task and it was those moments at night before I was going to sleep when your brain slows down and you start to think of random things, my mind would obviously go to Sansa and the tears would come out, but I would let those tears come out and I would go to sleep. But it was healthy for me to occupy myself with things to do so that I wouldn't honestly go crazy over the fact that I lost my bunny. So those are just a few things that I've done to deal with grief and live with grief. Again, going to church, praying has saved me in so many ways. I've always prayed. Sorry, my camera stopped recording, but essentially I had to keep my mind busy, because if I did not keep my mind busy, I was going to keep my mind focused on what happened with her and just beat myself up over and over again over the fact that I lost her and I'll never have her again. I think about her every single day though. There's not like a day, a moment that goes by where I don't think of her. When I pray to God, it might sound silly, but I always ask please have her visit me. Please have her send signs. And it's crazy because I really feel like she's my bunny angel in heaven, because she will send me signs that she's saying hi. Like, for example, on your phone, if you have an iPhone, you slide to the right and sometimes like a memory of a photo will come up. All of a sudden pictures of her would come up in moments where I'd be so sad, or in moments I would least expect it. A little picture of her would come up. There was one time in Trader Joe's, I went to pay, and the song that goes, "I'll be missing you, I'll be watching you," that song came on as soon as a picture of her popped up on my phone. And of course I wanted to cry. I held it in. I was in public, but it's just things like that. She visits me. She says hi to me. And that's in my mind, that's her saying hi to me. So there's a part of me that knows I've lost her physically, but I've never truly have lost her, because she's in my heart. She's in heaven. And I know that one day we will meet again at the gates of heaven. She'll hop to me. I probably think I have a treat, because she loved treats so much. And what brings me peace of mind, and it's hard to think of what's going to bring you peace of mind after losing your pet, but what helps bring me peace of mind is she's no longer suffering. She hated medication. She hated when I would treat her. She hated it all. So the fact that she's not suffering anymore, she will never ever have to have a vet visit or medicine shoved down her mouth or have to have a syringe in her mouth, things of that sort. That brings me peace of mind, because it's like, you know, had she had survived, you know, past, say she was still here, she would still have health issues every single month, because every single month it was something. And obviously it is something that I wouldn't have mind taking care of. I wouldn't have mind treating her, but it's just, it brings me peace of mind knowing that my bunny does not have to live a lower quality of life because of the medical conditions. Even though I provided the world to her, she lived a life of luxury. Her health, was just never the best that it could be. She could never be one of those healthy bunnies that you see. That was not her. It wouldn't be her, because she was chronically ill, had her underlying conditions. So the fact that she's in heaven with a bunch of other beautiful animals and binkied over the rainbow and is just at peace and no longer has to suffer is what also helps to keep me going. Of course, I would rather have her here. I think every owner has those selfish thoughts where in their mind, they're like, of course, I'd rather have my animal here. But that's just because they've become such a large part of your life. They've become your routine. They've become your motivation. They've become your emotional support. They just have become such a large part of your life that you want that back. And when your routine changes, you're grieving that routine, you're grieving that spirit of your animal, you're grieving the bond, you're grieving everything, you're grieving the relationship. But not having her here and knowing that she's with God helps me a lot. And if you're not religious, I would find a way for you to become at peace, whether it's maybe adopting a hobby, maybe it's adopting another animal. I know a lot of rabbit owners sometimes go straight into adopting another animal. I have other rabbits to take care of, so that's not something that I could do at the moment right now. But if adopting another animal, or taking on a new task, hobby, sport, going to the gym, whatever it may be to help occupy your mind and to help heal the heart, I recommend you do it. So now to go into more of my filming routine, I do want to get back on here on my YouTube, and I just felt like I couldn't come back with like a lipstick review, a lash review, or like a makeup review without addressing where I've been. And again, I really want this video to help anyone out there who is living with grief. If you're feeling lost, you're feeling heartache, you feel like you don't know where to go, what to do, and how to go about your days, it's okay. You will figure it out. You will get there, and you will eventually get to a state the way I'm in right now, more of acceptance. You're not moving on, but you're moving forward, and you know that they will always be in your heart. So that is my piece on that. I do want to get back to filming. I'm going to try to get at least 1 to 2 videos up per week. Let me know what content that you all want to see. I know that I never had filmed the Morphe Mega Matte lipstick reviews, and I've been getting a lot of comments saying, where's that review? Where's that review? I have my Mega Mattes right here, but I've lost a few of them. So I'd only be doing a review on like 2 of them, and I have no idea where they're at. But let me know what you all want to see. If you want to see like lipstick reviews, I kind of want to show you guys like a summer makeup routine. I'm trying out something different today where it's not as much makeup. So if I look different, that's why. I have my hair down. My hair has been growing. But anyways, thank you for hearing me out. And again, if you are someone who has lost your fur baby, my whole heart goes out to you. If you want to message me on Instagram and just talk about if you've lost a pet, things of that sort, feel free to message me. I try to get back. And when I had posted Sansa, oh my goodness, I got so many heartfelt messages, and just thank you to everyone who has been so supportive and has sent their love about my baby Sansa. So I really appreciate that. So I plan on coming back again. So I will see you all in my next video. Also, I kind of want to address, like, obviously everything that's going on in America. I wanted to film this video like a week or so ago, but obviously there's just been so much tragedy in America that I felt like my grief couldn't compare to what's going on. But there's just been so much going on in the United States that my heart and prayers go out to every single community, individual and family who has been affected by all of this heaviness that's going on in America. I've been praying every day. I want to see change in this country. I do believe that we live in one of the best countries in the world. We are not a perfect country. We have so much to fix, to protect our babies, to protect children, to protect adults, to protect everybody. So my hearts and prayers go out to everyone who is suffering through a tragedy right now. And you all know what I'm talking to. I just don't want to say it because it's just so sad. And I've just been so sad over things that have been going on in America, but it's been mentally damaging as well. And it's okay if you feel that way. I haven't been motivated to really post either because of everything that's been going on in our country. But I do believe we will have better days ahead. And we just have to work towards change to keep us all safe here in the United States. So anyways, I will see you all in my next video. And I always end my videos with saying to please always spread peace, love, and happiness. And I truly mean that. Take a moment out of your day to be kind to somebody, share a compliment with them. You truly never know what someone is going through. They could put on a smile, a face at work. Just try to be the nicest person you can be because everyone is going through something. They just maybe don't show it. So anyways, I will see you all in my next video. And just remember always to spread peace, love, and happiness. Thank you for listening. God bless.